Hi, this is James from Tabletop Gaming Guild, and today we're going to take a look at the 100 Torii. This is designed by Scott Caputo, and it is published by Pencil First Games. In this game, you're going to be wandering through the garden, trying to have the best time. The person who has the best time is the person who has the most points at the end of the game. So let's go head down to the table here, and I'll show you how to play this game, just a brief overview. And then we'll come back and I'll give you my final thoughts. Alright, so this is what a setup of 100 Torii might look like for 4 players. Now to start the game, you're going to remove some tiles for each player count. Look at the instructions for that. Then you're going to set out these tiles equal to the number of players. So these all have 4 out there for a 4-player game, but if you had 3-player game, you have 3, 2-player game, you have 2. You'd also place out the standee and the bonus tiles. There's 2 of them. So during the game, what you're going to do is you're going to first start by drawing your 2 tiles, and at the end of every round, you'll draw up to 2 tiles if possible. You will decide whether you want to pick one of these bonuses, which we'll go over a second, before you place your tile. So I'll explain placing the tile placement, and this will make a little bit more sense. So if you do tile placement, so let's say I didn't pick one of those to use my first turn, I would place one of these tiles. And what you're trying to do, so let's say I place this tile here, is you're trying to make the longest route possible between 2 symbols. Right now, I'll use this symbol, so this is the symbol I pick. It's only 1 away. It doesn't really matter if there's no gates between it, but we'll go over gates in a second. I would get the matching lantern. Next turn, I might place this one here, and I'll pick this symbol, and it'll go there. But let's set up an example where we have some gates. So let's say I set this one up, and there's a fox on there. There's a lot of symbols on these ones. We'll set this one up here. And let's say I pick the bridge. The bridge is only 1 away from the other bridge, but it goes through a gate. So the blue gates give me, so first off I would get a bridge, because that's the symbol I picked. Second off, so if it goes through a blue gate, I get to pick a different token, so I'll pick this one. If it would run it through the red gate, you would get another of the same symbol. And so for every gate that you go through, you'll get more and more of these. So you're trying to build this long route. The other thing that can happen is if you close off an area. So the way I have it set up here, it might take me a minute. So let's say I go here, and then let me find one where we close off an area here. Well, I'll just say the rules for closing off an area are basically going to be that there has to be at least 2 symbols in the area. So we'll go here, and then maybe we'll cheat a little bit here. We're going to cheat a lot here. So we'll go here, and then I'll place one that would close this off. So if I close this off, I get a special scoring. So for the special scoring, you would get this one here. So for the first time I close off an area, I get 2 points. There's equal to number of players. The second time I would get 4 points. I would just flip this over. And the third time, if I'm the first player to do it, I would get this. After that is taken, it doesn't matter how many more other times you do this, that's it. And it goes for the same for a couple other things, but we're going to need to go over this to show first. So now that you know the basics, that you're trying to lay tiles, you're trying to create the longest route, you're trying to go through these gates. Red gates give you the same, blue gates give you different, and trying to get as many resources as possible. What do you do with them? Well, one of the things you can do is you can spend those resources to gain a power before your turn. The number of flowers on here determines how many resources you spend to get that. It doesn't really matter what the resource is, as long as you spend that quantity of resources. This first one here, let's do it English. Let's try the English one. So this first one here, you're going to discard a tile and draw 2 tiles. So you'll discard one of your tiles and you draw 2 more tiles before you start your turn. So you could set up your deck. Nice thing to know about this one is you'll have 2 at the end of your turn, so you won't actually be drawing any tiles. Also, this shows you what the gates do on the top, so a nice little cheat sheet there. This one here, the samurai, you could place a samurai on the table adjacent to one of the tile packs. So basically, if I'm placing a samurai, I could place it here, and then no one can place any tiles there, including myself, until the samurai's moved. And this can help prevent someone from getting a nice combo with a ton of resources. If I spend 3 resources, I get the poet, and if I place the poet on the board, I just cover over one of these little landmarks here, and then that one is out of the game until this guy is moved, so I can create longer paths. So that's really nice about that one. The geisha, I can play 2 tiles, but I only score the second tile. So I can place 2 tiles during my turn. I'll place the first, and then I'll place the second, and I'll score for the second. So that's nice to build up like a huge route on your turn. Gardener, I can place a tile on top of another tile in the garden. Now this rule here, you can only have, it can never have another tile already on top of it. So once I do that, that is the max. That's as high as I can go. When you do these things, the first time you do it, you will get your 2-point resources. I get the poet, and if I place the poet on the board, I just cover over one of these little landmarks here, and then that one is out of the game until this guy is moved, so I can create longer paths. So that's really nice about that one. The geisha, I can play 2 tiles, but I only score the second tile. So I can place 2 tiles during my turn. I'll place the first, and then I'll place the second, and I'll score for the second. So that's nice to build up like a huge route on your turn. Gardener, I can place a tile on top of another tile in the garden. Now this rule here, you can only have, it can never have another tile already on top of it. So once I do that, that is the max. That's as high as I can go. When you do these things, the first time you do it, you'll get your 2-point, I guess a little board here. You'll get 2-point board. The second time you do it, you're 4 points. And for the third time you do it, you'll get this giant 3-point standee if you're the first one. After that, you don't get any more points. Once the 3 points taken, again, any of these 3 points, no one else can get that. So you will get that. There's one for each of these here, and you can only ever have one of them. So the most you can get is 7 points for any of these if you're the first one. Otherwise, the most you can get is 4 points. The last thing you can do is you can trade in resources. So at the end of your turn, once you get all your resources, let's say I have a bunch of these. So I have 5 of these. I can turn these back in 5, and I can get the 5-point one here. Now the most you could ever have on any one of these resources is 10 points. Next time I could trade in 5 more, and then I get the 10-point side. After that, you can spend these resources on here, but you can't use them for points. That's how you get all the points throughout the game, with the exception of these bonus points. Now there's a 5 and a 3, so the first 2 people are the only 2 people that can get these. This one here is once you have a 5 in all of these resources, you get the 5-point one. This one here, once you have a 10 in all the resources, you get the 5 here. So these are really, really nice to get the last couple points. The game will continue until we run out of tiles. Once we run out of tiles and you played all the tiles in your hand, the game ends, and the person with the most points wins. So let's go ahead back up to the table here, and I'll give you my final thoughts on 100 Torii. So I really love this game. This is a really, really good tile placement game. This game is, I think it's up to 4 players, but it's a great 2-player game also. Placing the tiles down and trying to get those longest connections in there and puzzling that out is a wonderful portion of the game. But not only that, you can hire those different experts to do cool stuff throughout the game. And you're always paying attention to what your opponent could do, so maybe you'll hire that samurai to prevent them from getting a lot of resources on there. You're also looking at like what people are collecting so they can get those extra point cards first, getting those third sets for or third runs to be able to get those 3-point cards is awesome. Everything you do in this game generally is going to give you points. It's really nice that you're just like going to your different goals or pouring all these points are pouring in for you. It's a lot of fun. It's also super easy to teach. So this is one of those games that you could just sit down at the end of the day, teach someone, and just have a great time. Yet it has enough depth of strategy in the game to make the game really fun and really thought-provoking while you're playing. So if you're looking for a tile placement game that gives a lot of strategy to the game, a lot of different avenues for victory, but yet isn't going to be overly complicated, I highly recommend to check out the 100 Torii. Thank you for watching.